think we're started. Yeah, we're good. Okay, hiya. It's a special day. Why? Because it's Friday. It's Friday? It's Friday. Okay, hi. My name is Christopher Runciman. Welcome to the One Page Story Extravaganza podcast, episode 133. I've got something exciting today, and I'll talk about it now. Pow! We're going to do something different together. Okay, so I'm just letting you know now, just warning you. Hey, Leah's joining us. Hey, Leah. Is it Leah or Lee? Some people get, one or the other in that in the spelling. Either way, let me know. Okay, so there's the big exciting news that's on the screen. I'll leave it on the screen. You don't need to see my mug for a second. Okay, so this is the podcast that I do, the stream that I do Monday through Friday, 2 o'clock. As you know, you're here. But any ideas or suggestions that come my way, I produce at least a finished one-page story a day. And then the days that I don't do the stream, I still get a one-page story done. So that I am now on 181 out of 193 for the year. It's the 193rd day of the year. I'm aiming for 200 for 200. Well, that's the way. We'll see if I get there. If you like what I'm doing here, make sure to subscribe, put on the notifications, etc., etc. Give me a thumbs up. Hey! All right. Here's yesterday's Lee. Okay, excellent. Thank you, Lee. I'm glad I was pronouncing it correctly. I'd hate not to. All right. Here's the page that I posted that we started yesterday. Now, big exciting stuff for today because I got typically overzealous as I do, and I did 2 pages at once. And you're going to help me finish the second one. That's my plan for today. If you want to see the original art, it's going to pop up. We're going to see it throughout this episode. Normally, I just put it on my Patreon. It's under my name. But it's like $3 a month, and then you can get all the original art. But today we're going to do something special, and I'm going to take the originals, right? And we're going to craft the next page on the same theme. And you get to do it with me for those that are in the stream. So I hope people can stick around. Those that are joining later will remind this a couple of times. But I'm super excited about that. In the meantime, I want to say thank you to my 2 big patrons, James and David. Super appreciated. It really helps me out on Patreon there. If you've got a one-page story idea or suggestion, please feel free to put it in the chat when we're live or in the video's comments afterwards. Okay, so let's get to work. And we're going to switch gears a lot. So as soon as we get this done, because it doesn't take long, but as soon as we get this page done, I'm going to do a quick drawing before the end of the day. So we're going to go till 3:30. Brace yourself, it's going to go crazy. So, okay, I'm going to switch around. Oh, my music soundtrack for today is Cream, C-R-E-A-M. Power Trio, Jack Bruce, Eric Clapton, Ginger Baker. For those that don't know, see that there? We started a comic company in 2015, my wife and I. Hey, Chandler the Handler, how you doing, sir? And called Runciman Press. And so this is one of our company shirts. We've got cool picture on the back, and then next I want to do a bowling shirt, but it's not going to say the Runciman Press logo anymore, and it's changed now. We've got a different RP Comics logo, just because it's easier than trying to pronounce my ridiculous name. But hey, Dee Dee, welcome aboard. Hey, Philip, welcome aboard. So this is an official shirt. Wee-hee. All right. So let's get crack-a-lackin', shall we? So the theory of today is this. We're going to do something different together. This is my big fun thing for today. We're going to do a one-page comic together. Now, how I mean this is, I'm going to lay it down like following. And for those that are jumping in, if you jump in late, if you feel that your quiet voice is your comfort level, that's fine. But if you've jumped in late, you want to know what's happening, please feel free to ask. And if you want to throw input, even if you come in late, throw in input even if you come in late. Okay, so this is the page that I posted today. Now, right now in my studio, I'm sitting in front of my 2 monitors. in the digital part of my studio. And good morning, Joshua. Welcome aboard. Josh, just to update you. Today, we're going to do something different. We're going to finish a page together. So this is the page that I did, well, speaking of which, off of Joshua's suggestion yesterday. And the suggestion, I'm going to switch cameras for a second. Okay, so yesterday's suggestion was a time I changed my mind about something. And so I wasn't sure about if Josh meant a time that I changed my mind or a time that the abstract I changed my mind. So I did sort of both. So that's the idea. Now, I got, as I usually do, carried away in drawing the panels. So what that means is, switching back. So what that means is this is the first page that I posted. And now, for me, there's a resolve at the end of it, right? Because it's my typical outlandish way of approaching something. Okay, I can't really talk about this too much, but this is what I got called. This is how somebody described what we're doing here. I have an off-the-wall authorial voice. That's really sweet. Yeah, I'm off the wall. No surprise. So this is how I put together in my head the finishing process of it. So I've got the text. It's the last thing I do. And the assembly of the art, I'll take scans of the original. Whoops, that's not it. I'll take scans of the original artwork, in the case these two pages, and I will assemble the finished page from this. Like I'll take all these panels, and I'll use the marching ants to chop out the graphic images so that I can clean up edges and not have all this bleed through that pops in. So that's where you'll see, like in this panel on the top right, on that finished page, you know, it's nice and framed. But with that framing, challenges the idea of what in the world the blue might be, right? Because if you can't always see that it's a slag of tape and it just looks like this random piece of blue, I think that makes it more interesting. But that's just me. So in the course of taking these pieces of information from these pages that I've drawn, in this case pages, I assembled. Now you can see I assembled the page that I posted today. But you can see here, my mind gets ahead of myself, right? You can see here on this image that there's a whole bunch of panels here that you haven't seen on the finished page. And that's because as I've got all these assembled images set up in front of me, because I tend to work fairly quick, the second of these two pages I drew in an hour this morning. And then we went and got our groceries and then came back from the grocery store and I inked it up within, I suppose, probably 45 minutes, and then scanned both pages and assembled today's page in time for the stream. So, but it leaves me all of this extra stuff. And so I thought, this is a blank, by the way, a prepped blank that I keep popping on, which is what we're going to be assembling the page on. So, but I've got all these extra images now. And because I've got all these extra images, there's enough here for a second one-page comic and a second narrative based on the idea that Josh presented, which is a time I changed my mind about something. So, with that in mind, I'm curious as towards the idea that anyone might have some thoughts or some notions about a new direction for the story. And what I mean by a new direction for the story is that we can establish in the next page, and I'm clicking all these images that we have left over that I have left underneath the page that I posted today. Well, I'm sticking them on our new piece of paper now. Now, is there anything that comes to mind for anybody that might have a new direction that we can take the suggestion of a time I changed my mind about something? Now, I can write that down in the chat if it helps people to remember it. So I know I didn't warn you. I realize that. I know you didn't come in here thinking, no, I got to do work. What? What in the who's and the what's now? So, okay, so I'll move these around a little bit. Okay, so I've scanned it. This is the images that we have left over. And 2 of the images are reuse images. 3 of the images that are on here are reused images, I think. Maybe more. Let me check. Yeah. Okay, so a bunch of images that we've already used on that first page, but that's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think it was about 6. Yeah, I think it was about 6, but that's all right. That doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. Okay, so today's suggestion, I'm going to type it down. If that helps people out. A time I changed my mind about something. Okay, so I've put it up now. Okay, so because let's look at elements. Now, while I don't have the magic eyeball, because of the suggestion of this first page is that he was given powers from aliens in order to make people do what he wants, or he makes them explode. That was the silly notion on the first page. And when the guy says, come on, man, be serious. He wasn't being serious. His whole point was that you can't go back and change your past. So it's a conversational logic leap that I made. But that's kind of how people talk, right? So here's today's suggestion. A time I changed my mind about something. Thanks to Joshua K for this suggestion that's now doing its second page. So is there anything that comes to anybody's mind about a time I changed my mind about something? And while you do that, I'm going to clean up these panels and separate them out. This is not quite the way that I do it. I usually just take it panel at a time and stick it onto the master. But I'm just going to clean up what I've got here. So we'll just take it from the source that's in front of us so that I don't have to jump from screen to screen to screen and make people have upset tum-tums. So if you've got an idea, doesn't matter how ridiculous it is, related to a time I changed my mind about something, put it down. Don't be afraid. Don't be scared. Nobody's going to tease you. Okay, maybe somebody will tease you. Maybe not. I hope not. I think that this is a free kind of space. Now, I recognize that some people are like, Christopher, we just came to watch you do something. Amuse me for a while. Yeah, but I thought I'd walk people through this. So here are these 4 panels that I'm pulling. That's kind of a broad one, isn't it? So I'm just looking for the place where I've got image going all the way up to each edge of the panel. And it just sort of changes the dynamic of it when you can see it clean, because it lets you assemble it and order it in maybe a different way. So you'll see now, as I pull this out, there we go. We've got 4 separate panels now. And I mean, I got no problem if people don't feel comfortable to suggest anything about just running ahead on a different train of thought myself. But I just thought if people want to get in on it. So in the process of doing a page, I tend to leave the text to the end. And the reason that I tend to leave the text to the very end is that a lot of that narrative sort of builds up with me as I'm working, and that there'll be things that I have drawn that were I working from something written, it doesn't necessarily need to be written down now because I've already supplied the visual image that has that same explanation. So that's how oftentimes I will build up the narrative as I go. I got ideas, I got a rough notion of it, but when it comes to the actual text, the actual dialogue, that's the last thing for me. So, or you've got something here. The Greek word for change of mind is metanoia, a reorientation, transformation of outlook, a man's vision of the world. Okay, that is fantastic. Thank you, Didi. That's super cool. Let's leave that up for a second. So, metanoia. Let's start there because that's fun. That's a fun presentation of an idea. Metanoia is sort of where we can open things up. We can begin as our idea. If it's a reorientation or transformative outlook, how can we fit that contextually into a story, utilizing some of these panels? I've got three images up on the screen right now. Let me see if I got a fourth one where I drew the third. Well, we can use this expression of consternation that this guy has. Am I on the right? Yep, I'm on the right. So I come back here and drop that down as well. So here's the panels that we've got. So there's at least 3 panels here that have characters looking upset, right? Someone else can pick it up from there. Okay, yeah, thanks, Didi. It's a great start. So we've got these panels of people having upset or disrupted expressions. So and then we've got these 3 panels. Whoopsie daisy. We've got these 3 panels of our characters looking like they're having a dialogue. I keep touching and then dragging the wrong thing, and I apologize for that. That's the right one. I think I got the right one now. So, I mean, if we reorganize the elements a little bit, sometimes that changes the outlook of a story. So, looking from, I keep having to look at what it says, metanoia, as our term. Let's just get down with this bad sound. And type metanoia on the screen to start with. Drag that around, make it a little bit bigger. Yeah, it looks like, I want to try something. Oh, there you go. Huh? That text is called Elephant. That is the text for Nirvana. From their record albums. That's how they would do their name on their record albums. Okay, so metanoia. That's our first start. And that's fun. We found out what the Nirvana text is written in. Well, let's do this. Let's actually throw this dialogue on the screen. It's Greek. Change of mind. Yeah, this is fun. It's I gotta look up the spelling of reorientation halfway through doing it. Okay, so there, we've got what it means. I am a slow typer. That's, you know, it's easy to see it. It's terrible. There we go. So we've got it down to 2 lines. So here's our text that we're working from our first input. Okay, so he's decided not to blow people up. I like that. I like that a lot. That's what I was actually hoping for. Okay, so let's start from here. Let's go and organize our faces. So in the first version of this, I've got the presentation of the idea from this guy. And we've got the 3 characters. So let's start. I should label the panels, but that would have taken too long. So here's this guy here. We'll move him up. Actually, let's put him here. Let's switch up the order of things a little bit. And we'll pull this one down. Which one are you? Yeah, you'll do. I like this a lot. So we'll move this down as well. I had a silly idea about having all 3 of them screaming for no real reason. Yeah, we'll put that one there. So what I'm doing with this whole shuffling of the deck is just playing around with story direction and seeing where we can take things, where we can make our narrative move along. If we've got the 3 of these guys engaged in a conversation in the first panel here, so let's beef this up a little bit. Now, I tend to move to the I try to keep my edge of my panel. There we go, at the half and the half for inch. Oh, being paged. Right, see you soon. Okay, so if that's our big intro panel, we can fit lots of dialogue around it. Okay, and then we've got metanoia up here on the page. Let's move this around so that it has its own space. And then we could take what it means and fit it up in beside it. So let's go back into the text so we can alter this a little bit. So we'll be able to fit this in this space now. Well, let's bump it one more time. Yeah, I think I'll do it right there. There we go. That fits nicer. So if I move it up to here, so there we've got that space filled in, right? So now if I move it down to these guys having their dialogue, all right, we'll put that in the corner. Nobody puts that guy in the corner. I just did. Oh, snap. Okay. So here we've got, if we follow along our line, so that we can have some dialogue happening here in the conversation between these guys. And we can trim the top off of this panel just to have it sort of looking nice and uniform. Now, there's I'm trying to find that face. Again, it's easier when you label it, Christopher. Look at me evils. Okay. So here's a rough idea. Okay. Or actually, why don't we utilize this panel? I didn't utilize that panel. So we'll put that there. Now, another thing that we can do in order to keep the momentum of our page is that we can reverse panel. So what you've initially drawn it at, you can change the direction of it to maintain the integrity of the flow of the page that you've put together. Okay? So we can do so. And then we can also spread it a little bit just to fill in that space that we need it to accommodate. Because we want to keep these two guys' heads relative to one another. Okay, so there's our first tier. And along this train of thought is the presentation of the idea in the first part, the response from the other two actors, right? And then we can jump into this crazy notion about I'd blow up the world. And then, nah, just kidding. It's silly and it's simple, but it's honest, right? Now we can also eliminate this silly smug last panel and instead have, is that the right one? Nope. Is that the right one? Yep. Okay, there we go. So I can move this along and then I can have the crazy face where he says, I'd blow up the whole world, right? So in the course of this, fitting panels and moving them around and adjusting sizes, it sort of starts to lead itself in a different direction than the previous page did. Now, the idea is the same, right? The suggestion is the same. But what I'm trying to exemplify today is that the same suggestion, as interpreted through the same person or input from additional parties, like we've had for today with Didi, and that's a fantastic suggestion of metanoia. And yes, I had to look it up again on the screen to pronounce it. Am I saying it right? Yeah, metanoia. For all I knew, it was Madonia. So we've got our first presumption and our first presentation, of the idea that if you could go back and change something, what would you do? And the bartender tells this absurd story about, one time I got superpowers from aliens, then if everybody didn't do what I wanted, I'd blow them up. What? Come on, man, be serious. And then the guy just looks at the other two and says, you can't change the past. It's a ridiculous direction to take a moment, but those are those moments in life, I find, that when you're engaging with your peers, that someone will do something absurd, someone will say something outlandish, and the rest of the group just, oh yeah. But it's the sort of thing that when you're out having a coffee or a glass of wine or whatever with your friends, and someone will say something, and everybody around the table gets the giggles on this thing, and whatever this one simple silliness was, whatever this presented idea was, it'll come up again and again through the course of your day, your evening, even just the conversation, right? It'll be referred to again. It usually happens. Watch for that. Okay, so now we're approaching it from a different angle. Even the presentation of this format of adjusted sizes and shifting around panels on the first page and the second page, even though we haven't sized everything yet, the panels here are a little more regimentalized. And so with that, it establishes for us a little bit of a sense of a calmer order to it. So one of the things that we can do to take this idea of these three talking about a time I changed my mind about something, which is our suggestion today. I'll put it up again for anybody that wants to throw some input on the page we're making for dialogue or anything else, okay? If you're a dialogue person and you've got some words coming to your mind right now, spit them out like hot fire. Okay, so I know that this makes people really reticent. I don't want to, just you do it. I don't want to. There's no such thing as making mistakes here. There's no such things as a misstep. This is you putting forward whatever. I mean, Didi threw metanoia at us, which is that's a crazy term, right? But let's use it. Everything is fun. So let's change up the sizes. Let's lean into where we've got ourselves moving in a direction in an organized way. So I'm just going to organize these panels just a little bit, put them in a proper order as they are on the page. There's the panel I dropped out. We can still use that. So I'll just move this yo-yo over here for a second. I think that maybe if we're going to use this panel, it changes the ending for us. So it's something to think about, but I'll leave it up for the moment. Weigh in if you think we should have a calm ending or if we should have the crazy ending. Please feel free to throw down your input on that. So this is our big, nope, that's not. Here's our big explosion panel right here. And then we've got this guy. And I think it's this one. Yeah, okay, good. And then this. And then this. Look at this business. Now we've got our panels in a proper order, so I can stop flip-flopping on all the different things. So let's play with that structure a little bit. Now I suggested like a size change on this panel here, and I stretched it out a little bit. Okay, we can still do that, but we can also drop it in behind. There's a whole bunch of different options that we have. If we're going to have spacing between the panels, let's try to have it uniform. If we're going to do, you know, a border on the panels, let's try to have that somewhat uniform. But if the, you know, however we approach the actual, sorry, just give me a second. It's being fussy on how it moves over. Oh, it's because I'm on that. If you're on the arrow tool, I find that it doesn't, you know, pull worth a ding dong. So there we go. Okay. So I'm going to move that size and I'm going to come to this. Okay, we're good. Just want to make sure I didn't make a big clunky mess. There we go. So we got uniformity in the space between our panels. No, we don't. I spoke too soon. Now we do. But this sort of sets for us a height because we've got the one panel at a specific height. We might as well maintain the others. And because there really isn't any information in those panels, we can knock the tops off of these. And now we've got a clean line. But we can utilize this space here for text. When the face of the image sort of presents itself in a structured way, it changes the tonality of the page. It changes the measure that you give to things. Like if we go down here now, okay, and we're down to this bottom part. So we want a little bit more impact in our panels because this thing is supposed to resonate, the explosion part. But why don't we separate these two images of this character a little bit more? We'll put this panel in here and we'll move this picture of him over accordingly. We can move it up, utilize that space as best we can, and then stretch downwards, right? So let's move this guy up here as well. And then these are now responses to the explosion. So we can also still go back and drop Smug Face off and then move these around. So now it becomes, well, let's scale him up now into that ½ inch that I was referring to earlier. I understand why I don't make comics. It's a lot of work. Well, I'm kind of stretching this out for you. This is like 10 minutes for me of think time in my place. And the reason that I'm sort of exempling it today is to just give people the opportunity to consider that this is something that they can themselves take on. And it's not a difficult thing to do. It is a little bit of work, but once you get the hang of it, you know, it'll run fairly quickly. So here's where we are now. Okay, metanoia, reorientation, transformation of outlook, a man's vision of the world. So we need to reorientate somebody's thinking here with a suggested title like that. You know, so if we play with these scales a little bit, why am I on that? Don't know. Okay, that's fine. We're all amazed at what you get done in a day, Christopher. I'm not trying to say that like, I get this much done this time. I'm trying to say that the process of assembling things together, and the process that the hard work is putting together all the visual images. The hard work is the idea. The hard work is because once you get into the routine of something, there's a great deal of things that most of the people that I'm really lucky that come to this stream, and really lucky that I get to watch other people's streams, is that they all have proficiencies in things, and the speed that they do it at, like Didi, come on. Your collage, the way that you assemble images together in your collage is so equipped, like it's so much faster than many other people that'll try to apply that. It's well, I know, just saying you work it. Oh, such a neurotic. The anybody that takes on this, I think that once you start figuring out, you know, some of those ideas and how can I put those together, it changes the game, and it makes it so that you know, you can have a lot more fun with things. So we've got the explosion, and the explosion needs to be a bigger focus. So I think we shrink these down, and I'm going to play with that in a second. Sorry, go right back into working mode. So I've shrunk this down as well. Let's make them a uniform size. And let's do that with our third guy as well. Stretch it just a tiny bit. Whoops. There we go. And then we'll bring this. There we go. We're pretty uniform there. A little bit big. There we are. Okay, so now I've got these three faces. Small faces. Good band. So if I pull these over, right, we're going to shake it up in a second, because first I'm going to do the explosion. So we've got, here's our character. Now we can go even bigger with this. And if I move it down in the layers order, it lets me actually drop it below these other panels. And we can take these guys here and tilt them, just adjust them like we're following the path of the explosion, in the sense that it's upheaved the shape and size of our panels. And we can have them overlapping one another like this in a crazy pattern of spaghetti-o. That's what I call that pattern. And then I'm going to shift this down. There we go. And then I'm going to move it over. So one of the things that we can do to keep everything uniform, is put a large, broad value underneath. Now, on the first page, I use this purple. The purple works, right? Because the purple is a predominant color through all these smaller panels. Now, we could also use purple in this, right? Or we can take this one random value that you see where the yellow and the blue has produced this green. And the reason that I'm going here instead is my sort of, it's all intuitive, right? It just, as soon as I saw it, it just leaps out. And we want that leap. We want it. And so how do we get the leap? By picking something that differentiates and at the same time unifies. If we put this value in behind, like this, I think that it draws a little more attention to the fact that that green's in only one panel. So here's our structure of our page. Now, the other thing that we can do, oh, and we'll put, so let's throw one more box up. And we'll put another panel right here. Now we can either make it white or we can make it the predominant purple. I would think, let's go with the yellow actually, because it sort of changes that tonality. Like we can do it with purple. I'll show you the purple. Let's try this lighter purple. And you guys can choose which one do you think that you like more. Do you like the orange or do you like the purple? There's the orange. Well, it's a yellow. It's an ochre yellow. And then there's the light purple. Easy like Sunday morning, either way. So we'll take the marching ants off. So now I can go up to that text, drop it, fit it nicely, and then I can drop the title down inside here. So you can see how the very, very different direction than the previous iteration of the same idea. You know, and it's very much of the same images in both pages. There's quite a few of the recurring images here. Very little changes. It's a different explosion, really, and a couple of more exclamative faces, you know. So one of the things that we can do, I'm going to take the text off. Okay, so Didi wants to try yellow. Well, let's see. Yellow instead of both. So if we do that, let's try the yellow. Whoops, I'm so sorry. Instead of the green, right? Now, if we go here and put the same yellow on there, what I think is it's sort of, it loses the framing of the border. It just, yes, if there's a thing in our eyes that when we look at this space here as being, can you see the cursor movement? It's much wider than it is up and down here. And it's, again, very broad up here. So, I mean, we can change that a little bit by making the text larger. That's a doable thing. Hi, Chris, welcome aboard. Chris, we are in the process of assembling a page today, right? So, if you have any ideas, and Leah, if you're still here, if you've got any ideas that you want to throw in or any dialogue that you want to throw in, you're more than welcome. I posted this page today. The theme is a time I changed my mind about something. Where did I write that? Today's suggestion is a time I changed my mind about something. So this is the one that I posted already, but I drew enough images over the course of 2 pages that we can assemble a second iteration of the same idea. And the first suggestion that was made was from Didi, and that is metanoia. So what do you think? Okay, so Didi says too much yellow. So which do we pull back? Do we pull back? Where did I leave? I think that, let's pull back a little bit here. No, we were farther back than that. Okay. So what about switching these two around? I mean, that works too. Or we can drop the purple in underneath metanoia. Right? I mean, that's when we put our text back up. That's pretty good too, and it gives us a tonality to the page. What I mean by a tonality is that color, being as important as color is, the colors that we use suggest an emotion, right? So there's a sense of import with purples. And The dark needs to be behind the three faces. The green just is start to me. Is Siri giving you a hard time today? I'm not trying to figure out this Stark. Behind the three faces. Okay, so why don't we try, let's go here. We'll try the yellow here. How does that work? Or is that the too much yellow part you were talking about? We've got that, we've got that. Oh, the green stands out too much. Okay. So what about, but it does need to be dark. Okay, so let's find a deeper purple. A deep purple? Right? You know what I'm saying? Let's try this. Am I on the right one? Now that's a really deep purple. Why don't we find an intermediate? Oh, what am I doing? There's a nice one. There's a nice purple. And if we go back to here, we can drop that yellow in there. Oh, and there it jumps right out. Look at that. Pow! Good thinking. Okay, so in this, let's go on to the next spot then. In this page, I did a white border around the panels. And the reason that a white border around panels is a benefit to us is that it allows us to, I'm going to take the text off for the time being. Having a white border around the panels allows us to differentiate it, to separate it further from the background. Dark. I like that CK purple. I like that dark purple. You want me to go back? Where was I? There? You like that purple? That jumps. I like it. Decide what you how you feel about that color. We'll come back to that. So I'm going to separate these for a second. Drop this out, drop this out, drop this out, and drop this out. Now I have to drop this guy out because he's on a different plane than the other panels are. And I'm going to drop out, no, this kid for the same reason. So if I merge all this as one layer, and what that means is that this is all on the same plane. I can then take these two and put them on the same layer. I'm not going to do that though, because I want to see, yeah, he has to be in the middle. So he's going to be in the center between these two. I like the dark one. Okay, yeah, we're going with the dark one. You do what seems best for over one page. No, we're all in this together. I love the suggestions. That's the whole idea. That's the whole reason I'm doing with this with people today instead of just knocking it out. Okay, I don't know. I got a whole bunch of stuff. So let's go ahead and take these guys off. And we can do two things here. I'm going to make a duplicate of this because we're going to try two different actions. One is I'm going to do a black border on everybody. Okay. And then the other is I'm going to do a white border on everybody. And now we get this fun little game of popping up everything again. And you get to see which you like more. There's the dark border. Okay. And then there's the light border. And so these are the decisions. I went with the light border, especially off of dark background, because that light border makes it just jump up. And we do want to we do want to have our images really resonate. So I think I'm going to stick with the light one. We're going to take the black one out, or we can try a combination of the two. So I'll beef that up just a little bit, just a little more impact. You can't see all the actions that I'm doing on the side, which is unfortunate. I'm a little disappointed by that. So I'm going to see, now that I put the white there, it's gotta be the lighter one. It just has more impact. And let's just strengthen those lines there. Bingo! Right? And it also lets me look at this and go, hey, this kid's too short. That panel was just a bit too small. There we go. Now it's uniform. Okay, so there's all of our panels. We've got it all set up. We should probably go back to the border, put a border around this guy too, just to tie that in visually. So there's our art. Didi says, try the yellow behind the text again. Sure. I actually like the yellow. What do you think? With the yellow with the dark purple, it's carved out a very different presence on the page. And what I mean by that is that when you look at when it was with the, I'll put it back, the purple, it blends into the page because of that predominant value that the purple is through all the art. So when we put the yellow there, it draws attention to it. It gives its own impact. So Wakanza likes that. Now I'm going to move that up there just for its placement on the. I like the yellow with the dark purple, and it looks different from the previous one page too. That's the whole point. Excellent. I'm glad to hear that and thank you for that, because the whole idea is that this is one interpretation of today's suggestion, which came from Joshua, and the today's suggestion is, I'm going to find it. A time I changed my mind about something. So this is the quick interpretation I did of a time I changed my mind about something that I posted today. And now we get to dialogue our version of a time I changed my mind about something, utilizing this fantastic term that Didi has pulled up called metanoia. It's a change of mind, a reorientation, and transformation of outlook on man's vision of the world. So, Didi also suggested this. He's decided not to blow people up. Okay? So we've already got one structural idea. So how can we express that difference of idea? What we could do is have our character here in the bottom right corner. Hopefully you can see the mouse move around. We have to have, so if they talk about the notion of a time I changed my mind about something, and you're having a dialogue on it, and then the nutty bartender here suggests blowing up the world. And then, I like the idea that perhaps these guys have got such strong and vivid imaginations that, as he has suggested, this crazy notion of blowing up the world, and they all react accordingly, like the world's actually blowing up. Oh man, we're all gonna die. And the second guy says, why would you do this? And then the last panel of this page could be, I was kidding, I'm just joking, But is that a transformative reorientation of outlook? And so this is the challenge when we come up with the title before we come up with our text is that sometimes that changes the course of our story. So we want a reorientation, a transformation of outlook. So that's a realization. So a realization could be, if I had the chance, I'd blow up the whole world. Think about it. You go, think about it. It would be horrible. And the other guy says, you'd kill everybody. And the last panel could be, now that I think about it, it's a bad idea. So there's the process. There's the organic flow of writing a text on a page. That's how my brain does it. Is that I'll have a notion, which is the suggestion or the idea, and I'll start drawing the page, which is getting the idea down visually with some sort of structural narrative, and it's usually intuitive as I go. If I got one guy making a face of annoyance, then I got another guy who's like just saying something to him that's probably annoying, and I'll roll through from there. I'm missing some stuff, and I'm so sorry. Looks different from. Okay, we got that. I'm glad that. Yeah, thank you very much for that. By the way, I really like the difference between the two. There's alien heads all in the cloud. Do you see alien heads in there? It's kind of fun. But there's definitely somebody standing in the middle of the cloud. Since aliens were in the first page. Okay, so we've got, he decides not to, and now we've got, since aliens are in the first page, let's have alien heads in the cloud. Are you talking about putting some in now? Or are you talking about suggesting that, that is a narrative structure idea? Because Chris says, I like the look of the page. Thanks, Chris. I like the look of the page. Okay, so see, aliens in his head, a reorientation or transformation of outlook of a man's vision of the world. Oh, yeah, no. How about instead of adding more visual elements, we just stick to where we're at now? Let's just stick with the textual part of it. As much as I'm always open to drawing and adding more things. We've got to this point where we've got it laid out and we're just in that text stage. So yeah, no, I will definitely do alien heads in a cloud as on the side. So instead of blowing up something, well, the whole idea of blowing up something is that we want him to reorient his mind about it. And it's just, this is the images that we have to work with. And that limitation, and this is the part that I know it's a little aggravating to others maybe, but sometimes those limitations force you to have to just get it done, just move on. And as much as I try to be largely following my intuition and largely fluid, I always have to have cutoff points. And that's what I think helps me get things done somewhat expeditiously, is because we've got the art set up and worked out. So yeah, in this case, I apologize, but let's just stay with these pictures. DD says, okay, great. Sorry. So metanoia. So we can have a different tone to our conversation as well, because the first page starts, think about a time you changed your mind. That different choice could alter everything. The second guy says, I changed nothing. I'm in a good place. Not a thing. And then the third person says, it's a fun question, isn't it? I had a situation once. And it's almost like that panel is the whole idea of that word balloon is to change the course of the direction. I wish I could go back. I would have chosen differently. Aliens wanted to grant to me a power to make big changes, explosive changes, as in if everybody didn't do what I said, I'd make them explode. What? Come on, be serious. Can't change your past. And so that attitude shift is, the third yo-yo in this panel has, done a double blind on somebody. They've sort of said, here they are. Would you go back and change it? No, I wouldn't change it for me. I'm good. Nothing. And then the third guy goes, I had a situation once, and goes goofy. Didi says, just throwing it out there. I'm just used to hunting out things for Josh. Oh yeah, with research. That's right. You do that on a stream. That's really helpful, by the way. But again, this is that whole limitations thing where when we get to a stage and we resolve the majority of that stage, like once you're putting borders on panels, okay, you're locked in. You're going to move forward. So the dialogue of our first page has a flip-flop to it. Now, in our second page, we can have, we can open with a different direction. Like I'm just going to start throwing some words down, and if people want to feed in on this, let me know. So our suggestion is a time I changed about something. That's our suggested idea, right? Now, so we can incorporate that and we can incorporate that into the first line of the piece, right? Have I got space there? Yeah. That was the last time I changed my mind about something. So we're opening with our suggestion. We're opening with, and it's also the expression of an idea. So we're sort of immediately setting a direction. So that was the last time I changed my mind about something. We don't know what he was talking about. It doesn't matter, right? We're just, by having him start mid structure, having him start mid narrative, he's already explained this larger narrative to these guys about something. So we're just walking into the room while they're chatting, right? And sometimes a conversation doesn't need to start with, "Hi, Bob. Hi, Larry. What's new, Bob? Not much, Larry." Sometimes it can start with, "And if I catch you around there again, I'm going to kick your butt." Catch them around where, right? We just know that there's a conflict. That's what that tells us by starting at that point. So that was the last time I changed my mind about something. And, what can our response be? So we've got our place. Let me do something here. Let me squash our file down a little bit. Oops. Whoops-a-daisy. So there, that forces me to have to move on now. So this was the black border. I'll get rid of that. We don't need that anymore, do we? No. And we don't need this, my goofball. So, and then we've got our there's our base. So this is why there's usually only, so I'm just organizing all the files and cleaning them up. So now we're locked in on our art. Then we've got our place for our text. We've got our title card. And our title is up. His shocked looks are what he doesn't want to happen. Oh, see, I like that. That's good. So what do we not have him want to happen? That's the fun part. That's a really great idea. So maybe in this panel here, we have him suggest the shocking thing to happen, which, because of the visual supplied, is somebody's responsible for blowing everything up. So, but we don't want this to happen. So where are we now? Back to our text. Let's get rolling. He doesn't want that blow up. Okay, good. That's great. So How about we go silly? Let's go silly. Surprise. Oh. No, I'll change the typeface in a minute if we want, but there's our oh no. And then let's just jump ahead, you know, because the narrative, that would suck. That would stink. Let's go with a different term than suck. So there's our that would stink dialogue that comes out of him. And then we'll have him say, I know. And then we can have this last bit be the, why would you even make us think about it? Let's use the right then. Now, you can't really see it because of the dark type on the dark background. But when we put some balloons underneath this, it jumps out, right? So he doesn't want that blow up, right? So this is why something as simple, something as, how about this? I mean, the world could blow up tomorrow. And he says it somewhat ambivalently, right? I mean, the world could blow up tomorrow. And so this leads us back to that first statement, and we're working our way back in our dialogue instead of working our way forward. And it's just as viable in my mind. So we can have this guy say, wait. And then we'll put another panel up that says, what? And then by separating those two words, wait and what, allows a little bit more dramatas in the moment, right? So we'll go back to, let's go back to the start now, because we know that was the last time I changed my mind about something. And he has something to say between that and, I mean, the world could blow up tomorrow. And to me, see, there's a reorientation, a transformation of outlook that we need to make sure that we're still putting across, right? How about, so we've got, this transformation of outlook isn't our principal narrator, isn't our principal orator. Transformation of outlook could be the second character. And I'm referring to this guy, right? Hi, Gary, how you doing? Welcome aboard, sir. We're doing it differently. Today everybody in the stream is helping me finish a page, and we're just at the point where we're just dialoguing our way out of it. So if his end is that would stink, why don't we have him in advance of this affirm the alternate viewpoint, right? So if he thinks that the world blowing up tomorrow would stink after having an example to him, in advance of that, I mean, it's probably some sort of nihilistic take of, you know, life, it's the point of life anyways. Right? So let's use that. Let's move that back up. And I think we're going to change the text because, you know what, actually, I think it works out all right. Oh, that's a question. Didi says, I have to leave in a couple. Well, we're almost done this part, Didi, and I'll just be doing word balloons and we're all set on this. But thank you so much for all your input. This has been a lot of fun, and we're almost there. So he says, what's the point of it all anyways? So let's fill in this piece here for just this part. Whoops, we jumped up to our title narrative. We don't want to do that. Oh, see, now I'm stuck in that typeface. What was our other typeface? Constantia. There we go. You have to make the most of life. and which leads into that second sentence of that follow-up sentence to that is, I mean, the world could blow up tomorrow. Wait, what? And then the third guy says, oh no. And then that would stink. Oh man, how about, and we can add in another piece of dialogue in here too and say, oh man, that would stink. So there's the realization that we've talked about earlier in the title, the metanoia. So this person who has this negative outlook is exampled, well, you're alive. I mean, everybody could die tomorrow. And then the realization, oh, that would stink. So now we've taken the exampled notion for our title and incorporated it into our narrative. Actually, we've structured our narrative around it, but we made sure to incorporate as well was today's suggested idea, which is the time I changed my mind about something. We've made him change his mind. We've done it through this associative measure of metanoia. It's very, very different than the first page of, somebody saying, hey, would you change things if you could? And the third person says some outlandish example of, I once was offered the power to blow people up. And they're like, what? Come on, man, be serious. It's like, hey, you can't change your past, man. It's just a stupid, abstract example just for him to say, you can't change your past. Why are we doing this? So we've gone from this smarmy, sarcastic page to a page where there's an uplifting message. You've got, you have to make the most of life. I mean, the world could blow up tomorrow. And then we have a little bit of silly too, because it's me involved here and I cannot help but have some silly. So, oh man, that would stink. I know. And he says, then why would you even make us think about it? There's your silly punchline ending. Didi says, well, I think you did awesome. I think that you did awesome. Everybody that was involved has been pretty awesome. So I think you did awesome. So quickly. Oh, there we go. And thank you very much. So there's the incorporation of the 2 pages worth of images from the suggestion the time I changed my mind about something into 2 separate narrative examples of the same suggestion. So, okay, so let's just fill in a couple little pieces of dialogue in this first little spot, and this thing's wholly finished. Later, guys. Didi says, bye, Didi. Thank you for taking part. It was super fun. Chris is fixing us lunch. What are we having? What are we having, Chris? Bye, Didi, she says. Okay, so that was the last time I changed my mind about something. So maybe we want to have a negative association to the idea of that's why I didn't change anything. And he says, I would have. How about that? Why not that? Something as simply declarative as that. I would have done it. Oops, let's spell correctly, shall we? I would have done it. Let's make sure we get that. Chance for something different. Rice with mole and chicken. That's what Chris is having for lunch. Cool. Nice. Okay, so I would have done it. Who cares, right? What's the point of it all anyways? So there's our dialogue. So there's our course of stories. So I'm going to move the art to walk through this. Okay, so let me actually put another layer up here. And just so I can dump a big white screen back here. Nope. Oh, yeah, that's what we want. Okay. So we'll drop this out of the way too. Take our title text off. Take the name off. Let's just look at the words. And so this is the point, just as I'm about to go ahead and do the word glues, I just want to check one last time that we've got things spelled correctly. So that was the last time I changed my mind about something. That looks good. I would have done it. Who cares, right? What's the point of it all anyways? You have to make the most of life. I mean, the world could blow up tomorrow. Wait, what? Oh, no. Oh, man, that would stink. I know. Then why would you even make us think about it? Okay, so there's our text. Now, well, before we ground our text into one layer, I think the uniform application of text size is good all the way up to, oh no. And I think that if we make, oh no, much larger, much more reactive, right? It's kind of more impactful this way. Oh no. So then if we come back around here, good heavens, there we go. Okay, well, whatever, we got it here. So, sorry, I'm just running through my layers. So we've got, oh man, let's make this a little bit bigger too. And it's the same type, so we know it's the same kind of dialogue. But this is, we really want this realization to be emphasized as well. Because it is, that would stink. So we've just jumped the size of our typeface just to simulate the idea that they're all yelling and being, they're exclaiming. So then why would you even, now, if I have the wrong band, which I may well do, in this case, if anybody can clarify before I finalize our text, I'm going to pull the art out one more time just so you can see the size of things and the relationship to one another for who's yelling the loudest, etc. Is it then or than? Yeah, let's leave that there. So if anybody can confirm for me if that should be than or then, I think it's than. And that goes over that. Now, again, this isn't our background. Our background is going to be this, but you can't see the text when I do that. So that's why I've got it. Chris says, very interesting process. I'm not good at any digital editing. I've sort of, my whole game has changed. Like my whole approach to making stories has changed dramatically since I started learning Photoshop. And so it allows me to be far more efficient. Chris says then. It's a linking word. Thank you so much, Chris. Oh, well, look who we've got in the stream today. Of course, then is a comparative link. Thank you so much, Chris. So let's fix this. And just one last thing before we go to, and I'll show you the correction there. So now it says then. Now, I mean, you could put 2 dots and a small t or whatever. They do that a lot in comics, but I like that it's the start of a sentence. So I think we're all good. And so I'm going to actually compress all the words down to one layer then. And if I'm wrong, I'll have to go back and fix it again. But that's okay. In the meantime, like I said, you lock yourself in at a stage and you're there now. So, okay. So then I'm going to write this down for the layer as text. I'm going to drop our title together because I'm good with its placement. I'm going to lock that down as title. So we're good there. We're good there. And then I'm going to lock in the yellow board with the rest of the art. Add a comma after then. Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Chris. So I'll go back and do this again. So we're going to merge this all together. There are text is on one layer, and then we'll do our title on one layer. And I'm titling these layers accordingly. Oh, and then we'll do this, put our art on one layer. And then we've got all of our elements together. So that needs, so now it's basically informed me I need to move my, where I put my name. This is excellent. Thank you. Okay, so then is a linking word. Then is the comparative link. Add a comma after then in our text. It works as an introductory element. Then, why? It adds suspense with the pause that the comma provides. Fantastic. Thank you. That's awesome. I'm going to write that down. I'm going to write that down to streams over. That's so cool. It's the, you just go with the, oh, I'm going to do it this way. And you don't think about it too much. But then when somebody says, this is why you're doing that, oh, I don't know why I do half the things I do. All right, so we've moved the name over to here where it's not so disruptive. And then now we're going to sit down and we're going to put in the word balloons. Now, this is where I wish I could, again, show you the tools that I'm using. So I'm going to put, now we can do this two ways. We can have, what I'm doing is, can you see the, not really. Okay, so I've got our first balloon down. Our first, I call them balloons. It always feels kind of down to call them balloons, but they're space balloons, Christopher. So there's our first balloon. That's the last time I changed. Whoops, I'm going to go back. I put the polygon lasso coming from the wrong guy. What a narcissist, just because the bartender looks like me. I use myself as a model. Chris says it's my job as an EFL teacher. Sorry, I correct automatically. Don't be apologizing for that at all. Lori, my partner, usually has to go through my pages. And, like we had to go through all my pages before we're going to print to fix all of those. And there were a few. So I'll pop the art off sometimes just so that I can see where the text is better. I'm probably sure that doesn't come up as readily on screen, but so then all the balloons are on the same layer. Just because if I do a bazillion layers, So I'm going to have this text coming from here, even though I could link the next balloon, but I don't want to. I want to shift this, and it's similar to what Chris said about the dramatic pause with the comma, is that if you do a break between one word balloon and the next from a person saying it, it's kind of like a pause or a breath, right? So when he says, who cares, right? What's the point of it all anyways? There's a brief pause in that. I don't really like correcting people in chats, just my students, but you asked. Oh no, I completely appreciate it. I did ask for it, and that was fantastic. Thank you for that. I have no problem ever if people go, you spelled it wrong. But mind you, this is my first time really walking through people with the closing part of a page. So just because I tend to fire them off kind of quick on my own. So, I generally present them as finished. But I tend to look at social media posts of the pages as roughs, because there are things I'll correct and so on and so forth, but it's all about the immediacy of execution for me when it comes to the daily pages. Just turning a page around in 24 hours. Is it going to be perfect? No. And no. So I need to change this placement. And the reason I need to change this placement of this next line is because if I have it directly underneath the words in the title, then it leads your reading the title right into that balloon. So if I make sure I try to root it as much as I can in the panel, hopefully it disrupts that. It's not perfect. And I'll have to slide that text over in a moment. But we're just going to move on with filling our dialogue in. I hope this is helpful to anybody. I hope I'm not boring anybody's face right off. I came to watch you draw, Yo-Yo. What in the world is this business? So here we are. So we've got those guys, this guy's balloons filled in. Now, we'll decide in a moment if we're going to have, oh no, in a word balloon. If anybody wants if you think it should or shouldn't have a balloon, let me know. Where are we at? 127. That's good, because I got to go pick my son up from his work. We're almost done. Just a couple of balloons here, and we're all set. I'll put that up in just a second. I just want to... All right, one more. I think we do oh new with oh no as well. Air new. Yeah, nope. I'll move back one. I'm switching around where this balloon comes from. And I keep changing my mind. Yeah, this will do. Okay, and then, oh no, it's our last thing to do. Chris says I can guess more or less what you're doing. I get lost with layers when I try digital. Oh my goodness, pardon me. Yeah, digital is challenging because, excuse me, it's very much about, making sure that throw my hand up again. There we go. Okay. It's simplify. Simplify. I think that's how my headspace works on it. Well, let's do this last thing. Oh no, and we're going to switch it over to here a little bit, and then we'll move the text in a moment. Bingo. Okay, so that leads me to take this, and I'm going to move it down into here. Happy. And then I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to move it down to here. That's a good spot for it. Okay, there we go. We did it. Yay! Hey, team. Thank you, by the way, Chris, for saying bless you. That's very nice of you. I appreciate that. Okay, that's it. That's us putting together a second narrative course on the same idea, the same suggestion, and very different pages, very much removed one from the next. So that's kind of fun. It's two examples of the same notion, but done in very different styles. One doesn't even have a title card on it. The second one has a title card that presents an idea that you have to look for in the narrative. So lots of fun. Okay, that's it. That's it for me. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out and watching this. I really appreciate it. I will be back on Monday at 2. I might pop up at some point this weekend, but I'll be back for sure Monday at 2 p.m. EST. And in the meantime, have a great weekend. Good luck with whatever you're working on. And I hope you have a wonderful and lovely and safe time. I'll be back Monday at 2. Bye for now.